Absolute horror. Coming of age with a poltergeist haunting me. A truly horrific and spooky story to keep you up at night. Hosted by Backpackerverse. Now that I'm an adult, I understand the energy behind poltergeist activity and going through puberty, but back then it sometimes felt like a war zone. I'll admit, like any teenager, I was often a pain in the butt, although ghost stories couldn't have been further from my mind when I crossed over the threshold of adulthood. Being a late bloomer, at 14 years of age, I finally got my period 2 weeks after my birthday, which was when the strange events began. I'll never forget the first night. I got up and went to the bathroom, scared but soon elated that I was becoming a woman. As I walked back to bed, I felt like something was in the family room behind me. When I backtracked my way to the family room, I realised that the grandfather clock in the hallway had stopped ticking. I noticed that it slowly started up again when I got a few feet away from it. Intrigued, as well as creeped out, I stepped backwards and nearly jumped out of my skin when it stopped once again. Back and forth, I kept testing it, and every time it stopped and started, depending on how close or how far away I was. If that wasn't enough, I was soon distracted when the TV suddenly switched itself on. I froze in the spot and craned my neck to see. The static was loud and I could hear a voice, but it was scratchy and hard to make out. When my father came out in a temper, all the activity subsided. That was only the beginning of a period where I was blamed for all the malfunctioning equipment and appliances in the house. My parents thought I was crying out for attention, but all I wanted was for them to leave me alone. I couldn't convince them that I wasn't to blame for all the strange and sometimes frightening activity. It was worse when I was alone in the house. One afternoon, I got home from school and was relieved to be alone at first. I put some music on the stereo and sat in my bed to get my homework out of the way. Then I heard a squeaky, grinding noise coming from the door. When I looked up, I saw the handle slowly being pushed down. I stopped breathing as I stared intently at the handle turning 90 degrees, finally stopping like someone was holding the handle down, pointing to the floor. It was excruciating, waiting to see what would happen next. I wondered if it was my brother playing tricks on me, so I jumped off the bed and raced over to the door. I hesitated as all the terrifying possibilities played across my mind. Staring at the handle, I slowly reached out and prepared myself to yank the door open, telling myself that it was my brother. I'd give him a royal butt kicking, but before I had the chance, the handle suddenly sprang upwards and back into place. I jumped, but then felt a surge of anger, so I grabbed the handle and opened the door. No one was there. I began to storm through the house, screaming my brother's name and feeling the tears welling up. Not one member of my family was home. I even checked for my cat. Even though it was impossible for her to have played with the handle, she was outside the fence. Then my door slammed shut all by itself. I screamed and ran to the hallway. I stood at the end of the hallway and stared at my door. There were no windows open, and for a minute I wondered if there was a burglar in the house. Thankfully, my parents pulled into the driveway, and I raced out to tell them what had happened. My dad is quite a bruiser, so he made us stay outside while he stormed into the house. It was only a few minutes later when he came back outside wielding the baseball bat and shaking his head, very annoyed. He grumpily told us that no one was in the house and that I had to get a grip on myself. I burst into tears and stomped into the house. even though I was becoming quite afraid of the whole property. There were so many things that happened to me for that first year that I could easily fill a book. Ornaments would fall off the bookcase along with the occasional book falling out for no reason. One time, when I went out to the backyard to sunbathe, one particular wind chime went ballistic while the others stayed still. The hot faucet in the kitchen sink often turned itself on if I was in the room, and even the toilet flushed when I was walking past the bathroom. The strange thing was, during that whole year, the events only happened in our home, not at school or out and about at friends' homes. Then the activity completely stopped on my 15th birthday. Now that I'm 38 and have children of my own, I worry about them going through puberty, and I hope against hope that they don't go through what I did. I'll never know if it was just my own intense energy, but I can definitely say with certainty that it felt like I was under constant psychic attack.